Hey guys, TK Nation 47 here for another edition of European Tour Golf Breakdown. We got the Alfred Dunhill Championship. Looking forward to this week. We got a lot of good prize pools for the Draftkings lobbies. The $15 looks extra juicy, 50,000 on top. That looks like it's only about halfway filled, so get in now. We're less than 24 hours out from lock. Definitely going to bring you some quick picks in this video to get your lineup started. And you can find my core lineup. I'll give you a couple of picks to help you start your lineup. I'm giving you picks here to help fill those lineups without being, direct with what I'm trying to do. But what I do is I try to give you a player pool of 20 entry max because that's what I do. So, so you can find those cores in our Discord channel. You can find our Discord channel on our Twitter handle, FSIDFS. And so please join us. More the merrier. Love getting some golf talk at any point in time. Help you with your lineups, give you advice between guys that you might be split on. So I know listening to these can be helpful, but if you're looking for anything more, you can find us that way. And as always, you can like and comment the video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. That goes a long way in helping us bring you the content we love to do. We have other things here at FSI as well, soccer, even FIFA games. There's just a lot going on. A lot of fun people to be around here at FSI, and I hope you enjoy. So let's just get into it. Alfred Dunhill Championship. This is a course designed by Gary Player. Leopard Creek Golf Club is the name of the course that borders the infamous Kruger Park. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a cool video back in, I think I was at high school, of this antelope getting dragged away by a crocodile, and these hippos or something, or these bulls or something, were saving it from the water. I don't know, crazy video, but I just remember always searching Kruger Park in my YouTube search bar to find that video. Random. Off topic, but definitely something that comes to mind when I hear that. This is the pinnacle of South African tournaments for golf. This course is beautiful, absolutely stunning. There's just random wildlife everywhere. There's, different kinds of hazards throughout this course. Tall grass, random bushes and random African trees, and a lot of fairway bunkers and cool water splash throughout the course. It's a really fun tournament to watch. Gary Player did his best when he made this course. I really enjoy it. But the fairways are Bermuda, and they run pretty fast. They are wide, so that does help guys that like to bomb. Kikuyu grass can be awfully sticky, the rough. It's his rough is getting a little bit, Gary Player does love to make the course a little challenging. His rough gets pretty thick. The trees are, line the course, but for the most part, it's pretty open. Bent grass greens, they have been imported from Houston, Texas. It helps with, the softening of the green. It doesn't take on as much, or no, it makes it a little harder. It doesn't take on as much water. Pretty fast greens. You got to be a really good putter at this course. You got to have a really good around the green game. You got to be a decent putter. It's a par 72, so you got to be good on par 5s. It's 7,249 yards. It's pretty standard for distance. Tee to green, strokes gain approach, par 5s, putting, and short game. Those would be my emphasis on statistics. As I have found, you can find those statistics on the European Tour Golf app. They've been really helpful in finding research, helping cipher through some of these golfer plays week in and week out. So last year, winning score was only a -8. I think, you had your T19, I think, was around +4. So the course played really tough. And that's completely opposite of what we saw in 2016, the year before, a little bit of the redesign. Brandon Stone fired 24 under. So people are going to see that Brandon Stone won this course in 2016, but that was before redesign, and the conditions were ideal. You didn't have any rain or wind. and sometimes you can get that in South Africa. So Brandon Stone murdered the course, but so did everybody. Everybody murdered that course, and Stone had like a 7 under Sunday to pull off the victory. So this course can be played two different ways. I don't want people to get, confused at this being a bomb and gouge and birdie fest. It could definitely play tougher, especially since Gary Player is making the rough a little thicker, and he's trying to make course conditions harder so that they're more of a challenge. So with all that in mind, well, let's get into some picks. Starting off in this 10K range, Robbie McIntyre is 11K, coming off of a win at the Cyprus Showdown, I believe. He was 13th in he's 13th off the tee, 18th in strokes gained approach. He's definitely a guy with, or he's got back-to-back top fives. Yes. Let me just get some clarification here before I start rattling off things that aren't. Yeah, he did win the Cyprus Showdown. All right. And he's got back-to-back top fives. And I don't know. I don't think you have to have McIntyre. He's definitely a really good talent, really good off the tee. I'm not sold on McIntyre. I like Buzedenhout a lot better. 10-8. As you can see, he is the cover guy of the week. Running pretty hot with those cover guys, just to mention that. 15th last week, and he didn't even play his best golf. And he was coming off of a T38 at the Masters as well. So the guy's in a lot of form. And, South Africans do win this tournament quite often. Charles Schwartzel's won it like 4 times. Brandon Stone, South African. So, South Africans can take control of their own course. He's 7th around the green, which I felt was the biggest correlation between the top 10 in previous tournaments. And it's the strokes gained metric that led the way on that. He's 6th in putting. I think that kind of short game, this knowledge of this course is going to set him over. And I think Buzedenhout is the top 5 of this group. So I'm going to be heavy on Buzedenhout, and I'll probably have a little bit of Brandon Stone if course conditions look ideal. Because, like I had mentioned, he's got the course record minus 24. He was 12. He won by like something crazy, 12 strokes or something like that. But he was 4th last week. He looked really good. He's 15th in 2018 as well. He's 6th off the tee. He's just a good play. I would say of the guys in this group, Buzedenhout and Stone would be my favorite. I lean Buzedenhout if I have to pick one. Wilco Nienaber is coming from 8,900 all the way up to 10,300. A huge price boost based on that second place result last week. He kind of choked it away on the back 9, so I wouldn't consider Wilco a must. In fact, it's almost as if I want to fade him for the game loggers out there that are going to see that second place finish last week. But he is elite off the tee. He did finish like 29th last year, so he's got some decent history as a young, promising South African golfer who's playing in one of the preeminent South African tournaments. So you're going to want to think he's going to show up. Does he repeat himself with a second place finish? I doubt it, honestly. So I'm probably going to take the statistical odds on Buzedenhout better than I would, on Nienaber. And I kind of like Pepperell a little bit more than him too. 10K, T19 last year. He's 22nd in approach. Pure ball striker. One of the Euro Tour elites of the world. So I think I'm going to be out on players like McIntyre and Nienaber who are coming in just young and gunning. I think the experience between Buzedenhout, Stone, and Pepperell is going to stick out for me. So I'm going to go with those 3 up top and fade the other 2. So 9K, we got Hansen coming off the win, 9,800. I personally never play guys coming off of wins. I think it's harder for those guys that aren't the elites of the world in golf to repeat what they did the previous week, and their ownership always carries more so into the next week. And for that reason, I'm always out, because their price gets jacked up, their ownership gets jacked up, and their expectations get jacked up, and that always leads to a fail. I've done this my entire DFS career. It's always worked out for me. It's rare, very rare, unless, like I said, it's the golfer elites of the world that rattle off back-to-back top fives, win after win. Like, is he Rory McIlroy? No. Is he Dustin Johnson? No. So is Jacob Hansen or whatever, is he going to beat me? I doubt it. So for that reason, I'm going to go with George Coetzee, who I really wanted to play last week, but he didn't play. This is a guy, 9,600. He won the Portugal Masters, third in Portugal Open. He's got some very elite form. I think he's up to, I think it was like 8 top 10s or 5 top 10s and 8 made cuts. So when this guy hits, he hits it well, and he gets into that top 10, and that he's got some course history here in South Africa. He was 6th in the Open, T26 in 2018, and T32 in 2017, and he rattled off a T29 last year. I mean, so that's some consistency. With those wins, I'm sure he's got some really good Draftkings scoring going because he can get birdies in bunches. He's got the course history. If I'm going to expect something like a win from Zuidenhout, I think my golfer 2 is going to be Coetzee. Maybe I'll even start a few with him, so going to be heavy on George Coetzee, my favorite play in the 9K range. I'll mention Sean Norris, 9,400. He was third last week, South African in form. I think his price is a little too steep. I think he's kind of similar to the guys in this 8K range, and for that reason, I'll be low owned on him, maybe 1 or 2 out of 20. I like Matthew Jordan, young golfer, really good, 9K, 23rd last week, 16th around the green. That's my key stat, and 24th off the tee. So I really like Matt Jordan as a 9K low-owned play because I think this 8K is going to be super chalk. Starting with Garrett Higgo, 8,900, South African. He kind of fell off on the weekend, but he is 4th on the approach in the European Tour statistics. He was 3rd at the Cyprus Open. He won the Portugal Open. So he's got a lot of form heading into this year. People have their eyes set on Garrett Higgo as one of the European Tour greats, let alone South African. So I think for that reason, he's going to have some ownership. I'm going to have some as well. I played him last week. I can't jump off now, even with the price decrease. Another guy I was on last week, Verman, right below him at 8,800. 35th last week. He played really well. 13th in the South African Open earlier this year. He's 5th in the Tour in putting, and he was T7 last year for some course history for man. I like him. Marcus Artemage at 86, 6 straight top 30s. This is a form play. He did come in T42 last year, and he's 24th around the greens. My key stat. I think Artemage, Verman, Higgo, young golfers, I think, set up pretty well for this course. Some older guys that I feel are in good positions that are cheaper, and if not maybe better plays, are Adri Arnaus and Otegi. Arnaus was abysmal last week with a 108th place finish at 8,500, but he is 25th off the tee, 29th in approach, and he finished T9 in 2018, so he's got some course history. I think Arnaus playing one of his, he's playing really well, so I'm not afraid to go there at 8,500 because now we're getting into the territory where, just get that cut, get to that upside of that top 20, and I think he could easily get there. Otegi, probably a little bit of a better play, 51st last week, 19th on the approach, 29th around the green, and he was T33rd last year. So I like Otegi as well. Probably my favorite plays in this range to narrow it down for you. I'll go with Verman. Verman and Otegi are probably my 2 favorites. And last mention for the 8K range is Dean Burmester at 8,200. Dean, flipped it to the same page. Dean Burmester at 8,400, 18th last week. Coming off of that, he was 5th at the Italian Open, T17 in 2016. He was 6th in 2017. This guy's South African tour. He lives for his home country. So I always have a little bit of Burmester, one of the best putters in the European Tour, and he's 33rd in off the tee. So bomb and gouger. So if you want to build lineups strictly for bomb and gouge, I think you could start with maybe a McIntyre or that gentleman in the 10K range, knee neighbor. Like if you wanted to just go bomb and gouge, it could be like knee neighbor, and then Higgo, Jordan, something like that, and then drop down to Burmester, and then dip into the 7K range later. But yeah, I like Burmester for a few lineups. 7K. Pablo, the last year's winner, hasn't finished higher than 24 since March. So probably going to be out on Pablo, even if he usually plays pretty well here. I think I'm just going to pass. Not much more than the form on this one for me. Besseling is number one off the tee. Really good off the tee. T3 last year. If people are going to see that tied for third last year, I think his ownership could be a little high. But he did finish 91st last week in the mid 8K range, and his price dropped. So I could see people going back to the well with Besseling, myself included. But I'm not going to be too heavy on anyone in the 7K range. I'm going to be pretty spread out and try to narrow down my picks in the higher golf, in the higher tiers. And below him, Connor Smythe, 6 top 10, 7,600, T11 last year. Kawamura, one of my favorite plays in this range. He was 132nd last week. Just terrible. Just ugh. Like you looked at his scorecard, you're like, just as gross. But I think that's all the better for me because I have him first around the green, and he's coming off of a second place at the Cypress Showdown in a T18 in 2018. So he can pop here for one of those 130 seconds last week to seconds. I think this is kind of like one of those moments for Kawamura. And I'm going to be, if I'm heavy on anyone here, it might be him. Xander Lombard is a guy that's getting a lot of attention in the industry. 7,600. I think he's going to carry some ownership. He was 15th last week, T7 last year, T3 in 2018, and he's 6th around the green. So you can tell, like, I'm not yanking your chain here. Everybody that's really good around the green is got really good course history. So that is direct, straight from research. Like anything around the green is perfect for the Alfred Dunhill Championship. So just really focus in on that key stat. So Lombard, Kawamura, two guys I really like. Jacques Blau, 15th at the South African Open earlier this year, 7th last week at the Joburg Open, and he was T36 last year. I don't mind him. Some other guys we can name: Easton Crocker, Jaco Ellers, Julian Suri. Those are kind of like some honorable mention plays. My favorite cheap guy is David Drysdale. He absolutely loves this course. 91st last week, T11 2016, and he was 2nd in 2018 and T36 last year. So 3 straight years, he's gotten really good results. 7,100, absolute no form. But I'm completely ignoring that with David Drysdale. Just going to go right to the well. This is a course he loves to play. So I'm just going to go right to it. 7,100, not even think about it. Because the more you think about it, the more you're going to talk yourself off of it. That's why I say that. Keith Horn, 3 for 3 in cuts. I like him. Oliver Farr, he was a staple last week in my lineups. He did really well. I'm going to go back maybe 1 or 2. And Salter is not a bad pick. I think he's 7,200. 6K, we're just going to do some mentions here. Quiros, 6,900. Tristan Lawrence, 6,900. He was Okay, he was T49 last year. We got Jabe, JBE, Jeb, I guess you would call him, Kruger, 35th last week. He also was T49 last year. Heaney Duplessis was a guy I played last week. Reese Enoch, another guy I played last week. I'm going to be sprinkling those guys back into my 20 entry max. Heaney Auto, cheaper this week than he was last week. Finished better than Duplessis. Or no, excuse me, I believe he missed the cut at during the windstorm that came in late on Friday. But he was T49 last year. And Gonzalo Fernandez Castano, 30th last week, second around the green, so don't mind him, 6,400. So there's some cheap guys following the model of around the green plays, and some course history goats down here at the bottom to fill out the rosters. And so that'll do it for this week's European Tour Golf breakdown from me, TK Nation, here at FSI. As I mentioned earlier, if you're still listening, get to us on the Discord channel, and I'll definitely help you fill in some lineups from there, and hopefully we can find ourselves at the top of the leaderboard again, get in that top 100 in this big prize pool on DraftKings. And thank you guys, and have a good night.